America's largest injury law firm. But what does that really mean for our clients, for you? It means that when you hire us, you don't just get a lawyer, you get a legal army, almost 800 lawyers alone. That army includes an entire legal team, specialist lawyers, investigators, and a 24/7 client satisfaction staff. Just like if you were going into surgery, you wouldn't trust one person to handle the paperwork, the scheduling, the anesthesia, and the surgery. Have you ever seen a surgeon operating alone and without resources? No way. Why would you trust a small firm with your case? Your case is a big deal to us. When it comes to law, size matters. We're America's largest injury law firm, Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It's the perfect time to elevate your home at the Living Spaces President's Day event, where you can start fresh and save big. Lounge in style on sofas starting at $350. Enjoy entertaining with dining sets starting at $295. And rest easy with queen beds starting at $195. Plus, pay no interest for 24 months on select purchases with your good credit and get free shipping as soon as next day. Don't miss incredible deals during the President's Day event, only at Living Spaces.
Living Spaces.
We're chatting with our guest, Always Safety First, 811 Megaphone Man.
Call 811 before you dig.
You never stray from your mission of letting homeowners, landscapers, and excavators know you should always call 811 before you dig.
Call 811.
Call for both small and big jobs. And 2 working days in advance?
811.
Any parting words? And I'm guessing they will be.
Call 811 before you dig.
Brought to you by Southwest Gas.
811.
What's better than a credit card with low interest? How about one with no interest? For a limited time, when you open a new America First Visa credit card, you'll enjoy 0% APR for the first 6 months. Transfer your balances from higher rate cards to your new America First card to consolidate debt and potentially save yourself a lot of money. That's 0 interest for 6 months. Interested? Then hurry to americafirst.com to apply today. Introductory variable annual percentage rate is subject to membership, eligibility, terms, creditworthiness, change, and conditions. Other limits and requirements may apply. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal opportunity lender.
Welcome to Cooley Station by Fulton Homes in Gilbert, Arizona. Picture casual games of bocce ball with friends and grilling for the family under our community ramadas. Fulton Homes, you're proud to own. We're proud to build.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix. It's the lunch break.
A spring training contract extension. Welcome in to today's edition of the Lunch Break live on KDUS AM 1060. Always on the KDUS AM 1060 app and on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel. We welcome you into this Tuesday edition of the Lunch Break. Chris Schubert with you for the next 2 hours as we await sports to return to our lives. We await the start of the back portion of the NBA regular season. We wait for baseball to begin. We wait for there to be spring training games. We long for the NFL draft. We'll get through this time together. Don't worry. I've had a bunch of people in the building walk up to me today and say, hey, what are you going to talk about? There's nothing going on. I said, no, there's plenty going on. So why don't we kick things off with today's Daily Special?
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
It's a 4-year, $45 million contract extension that includes a team option for a 5th year. Between the Arizona Diamondbacks and shortstop Geraldo Perdomo, that news broke late last night. The contract will start next season, so not this season. It'll start in the 2026 season, and it will keep Perdomo with the Diamondbacks through at least the 2030 season and beyond. This a very nice move for the Diamondbacks. So a 4-year, $45 million deal is going to get a $5 million signing bonus. We'll make $5 million in 2026, $8 million in 2027, $11 million in 2028, $13 million in 2029. And then that option year for 2030 will be for $15 million and has a $3 million buyout if the Diamondbacks choose to explore it. This is what the Arizona Diamondbacks do. It's what they did with Corbin Carroll before he even got to the big league level. It's about team control. It is about cost control. It is about being able to look at your books, look at your roster, and know where you have to spend future dollars. And the more guys that you can get under long-term deals like this, the Braves are excellent at this. You look at the Braves roster up and down, they are magicians at being able to put together their team, put together their roster, and keep their costs down. They go to these guys way early on, and they put these long-term deals. Ozzie Albies is a perfect example. You put a nice deal in front of them that's team-friendly, buys up some of their arbitration years, some of their early free agency years. It's good for the team. It gives the player some big-time money up front that they wouldn't maybe necessarily get if they hit arbitration. And that's what the Diamondbacks did here with this 4-year, $45 million extension with Geraldo Perdomo. He was not set to hit free agency for another 2 seasons. He was under team control for another 2 years. So what the team decided to do is, hey, we're going to give you more money maybe over the next 2 years than you would have gotten through the arbitration process. And we're going to buy up a couple of your free agent years at maybe numbers that are more in line with what we want. And it's going to be a benefit to both of us. You're going to get $45 million over the next 4 years. We're going to have cost control. We're going to be able to look at our books and say, we've got a left side of our infielder locked up for the next couple of seasons. It's a very nice way to build out a roster. So the first question is this a good move for the team? No question about it. It's a 25-year-old player. You're going to sign a guy for 4 years, maybe 5 years with a club option, take him all the way through his age 30 season. That's perfect. That's when you get a guy in his prime, and at most, the Diamondbacks are going to pay Perdomo $15 million. That's the most they will ever pay him in 1 year over the lifetime of this deal. For the next 2 seasons, he makes south of $10 million. It's a guy who provides great defense, a guy who provides excellent energy. Last year, hit .273, drove in 37 runs. He's never going to wow you with the bat, never going to hit for a ton of home runs. But here's a guy who makes contact, hit for a decent average. Last year, .273, the best of his career, easily the best offensive year of his career, and also provides you elite defense. And that leads to the next question. What does this mean for the future of Jordan Lawlar? Because I know that's where most people went yesterday after they saw the news of this signing. And a lot of people, I think, made a unnecessary leap to that this is, I guess, some sort of proof that the Diamondbacks aren't as sold on Jordan Lawlar as their future. Perdomo can play short and third. Lawlar could play short and third. There's some versatility there. I don't think this deal that the Diamondbacks inked with Perdomo yesterday has anything to do with how they feel about Jordan Lawlar. Lawlar is coming off injuries, still is a young prospect with a lot of future potential, and at some point is going to make this team. I have been on record. I think there's a pathway for the second half of this year if this team needs some offense infused into their lineup, if they're looking for a spark in the second half. If Lawlar shows over the course of the first half a development of those skills, shows an ability to stay healthy, and he's down there in Reno or wherever they have him, and he's playing well, he could be that second half spark that this team could use. That's as early as I see him coming up. Second half, back part of the season, help to this team. Long term, Jordan Lawlar is going to be on this team. Just because Jordan Lawlar plays the same position as Perdomo right now does not mean anything for the future. Perdomo has some flexibility. Played third base at the big league level, not a ton, but in 2022 and 2023. Played 22 games at third base. He's played the bulk of his time at shortstop because that's where they've needed him the most because they have Eugenio Suarez on the roster. But if they needed to move Perdomo over or if they wanted to move Lawlar to third base, all of those options are in the cards. But I am not going to shy away from being able to sign a 25-year-old infielder, shortstop, lock him up long term, and now Mike Hazen. And we're going to talk a lot today about roster building and team building. This is what the good organizations do. Good organizations think multiple moves ahead. They're great chess players. They're able to see things 3, 4, 5 moves down the road. That's what this is for the Diamondbacks. They want to make sure that when they get to the 2027 offseason, they know we've got one of our infielders locked up long-term. We've got Corbin Carroll locked up long-term. We've got Corbin Burns under contract. I was looking at it this morning, and we'll talk a little bit later on about who might be next in line to get a contract extension from the Diamondbacks if they are going to give one out. But I looked at the payroll breakdown for the Diamondbacks over the next couple of years. When we get to 2027, here are the players that are guys with guaranteed contracts for the Diamondbacks. Corbin Burns, as long as he opts in after the end of 2026, so it's not a full guarantee. Eduardo Rodriguez, Ketel Marte, Corbin Carroll, Geraldo Perdomo. So I potentially have the ace of my pitching staff. I have my star second baseman. I have a starting pitcher in Eduardo Rodriguez. I have my star center fielder. And I have one of my infielders who is a defensive guy, hits the ball, provides energy, loved in that clubhouse, is a leader, checks a lot of boxes. And that year, I'm only going to be paying him $9.25 million. This is perfect. For a team that this year is running their highest payroll ever, it's estimated according to Fangraphs to be $195 million. Over the course of the next year or two, that's going to probably have to come down a little bit. I don't see the Diamondbacks swimming in the waters of a 220, 230 payroll. They might max out towards this top end of 195, but I think they'd like to probably settle in the 160 to 180 range as long as they're competitive on a year-to-year basis. And so getting these cost-controlled contracts on the books, like a Corbin Carroll. I mean, they signed Corbin Carroll to an 8-year, $111 million contract. He's making $5 million this year. The deal doesn't eclipse $15 million until 2029. Again, this is what good general managers are able to do. They think multiple moves ahead. They identify players that they want to build around. And this is the Diamondbacks saying, we've identified Geraldo Perdomo at 25 years old as a player that we want to build around. This is one of the players we want as our core. Plays excellent defense. And you know these very good front offices who can't spend the way the Dodgers spend, the way the Mets spend, the way the Yankees spend, the way the Phillies spend. They prioritize run prevention over run creation. You want to spend all your money getting the top guys that can slug the ball out of the ballpark? I'm going to make sure I have great up-the-middle defense. I'm going to have a great catcher. I'm going to have a great second baseman, shortstop, and a great center fielder. And look at the way the Diamondbacks are constructed right now. You have Gabby Moreno behind the plate. Your middle infielders are Ketel Marte and Geraldo Perdomo right now. And your center fielder is Corbin Carroll. That's good up-the-middle defense. Going into this year, now they might play Jake McCarthy a little bit in center, and they might stick Corbin in one of the corner spots. Right field is where he's projected to sit on opening day, according to Fangraphs. But either way, Jake McCarthy, Corbin Carroll. Up the middle, I've got Gabby Moreno, Perdomo and Ketel, Jake McCarthy. Sometimes I might have Alec Thomas out there. I might have days where Corbin Carroll's out there. I've got great up-the-middle defense. Run prevention. We talked run prevention versus run creation. We talked about that philosophy all winter long, how the Diamondbacks kind of pivoted to a run prevention model, realizing we're not going to be able to bring back Christian Walker. We're not going to be able to bring back Jock Peterson, so leaned in towards spending money on Corbin Burns. And so I love this move. I think it's a great signing. You're never going to hear me complain about signing young players to cost-controlled, team-friendly deals like this. Just a win-win for everybody. Diamondbacks don't have to worry about Geraldo Perdomo hitting free agency in a couple of years. They've got him through 2030. That's 5 years down the road. And if they pick up the club option, it costs them $15 million to do so, $3 million if they choose to buy it out. These are the types of deals that good organizations do, good front offices do. Identify young players that you want to build around. Don't wait until they get really close to free agency. We're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. There's another team. You see what went on in Toronto last night into this morning? There was a deadline that Vlad Guerrero Jr. set on being able to sign a long-term extension with Toronto. That deadline was today. They cut off talks last night around 10:30 Eastern time, realizing that they were way far apart. So a 26-year-old first baseman is about to hit free agency. We'll touch on this more as the show goes on. I have it as a story for the leftovers, but good organizations don't let it get to the midnight hour. They don't let it get to the last possible second like Toronto did, because you run the risk of this. And I'm not comparing Perdomo to Vlad Guerrero Jr. per se, but as an organization, when you identify players that you want to build around your core, I'm always an advocate for not wasting time putting together these types of deals. They are win-win across the board. 480-864-1060 is the phone number if you want to hop into the program at any point today. But coming up on the other side of the break, it officially opens today. Teams can start applying the franchise tag. What are the Cardinals going to do? And who are some of the big names that we're paying attention to over these next 2 weeks? That's next on the lunch break. KDUS, AM 1060.
Listener rewards for you with the KDUS 1060 app. Download today to hear all of the national and local shows you love. That's the KDUS 1060 app.
Shinedown. Dance Kid Dance Tour. Live in Phoenix. Footprint Center, Saturday, August 2nd. With special guests, Bush and Morgan Wade. Get tickets now at livenation.com. It's about to get heavy. Shinedown, live in concert. For more, visit shinedown.com.
A noisy garage door is a cry for help that often requires only simple maintenance. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello from A1 Garage Door Service. Don't wait until a simple garage door repair becomes a major problem. We fix garage doors fast and with quality parts designed to last a lifetime. Replacing the bottom rubber on your garage door can have a huge impact on the number of bugs you see in your garage and in your home. Call A1 Garage today and receive the best service, best parts, and best warranty in the industry.
A1 from day one.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. To learn more, visit one of our 12 Phoenix Sleep Number stores or visit sleepnumber.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Springtime savings are going on now at Mark Kia. Receive 0% APR for 72 months on a brand new 2025 Kia EV9.
The name to remember? Mark Kia. Mark Kia. Offer only for Kia Motors Finance. Not all buyers will qualify. $13.89 per 1,000 borrowed. Offer expires March 3rd, 2025.
Jim Rome with your Rome Report. Commissioner Adam Silver seemed committed to getting it right and even brought in some all-star players to help him design this year's All-Star Weekend. So did it work? No. Look, I know it's weak to keep beating a dead horse, and I really, really did try to maintain an open mind after that game hit rock bottom last year. But it's awfully hard to care about that game when the players themselves don't, and they don't. Nikola Jokic, one of the best players in the world, essentially said as much. And I don't think that he was merely speaking for himself. In fact, I know he wasn't. How do I know? I've got a pair of eyes, and I watch the games. Draymond Green, who was asked on TNT where he'd rank the game and the weekend on a 1 to 10 scale, and he said, quote, 0. Look, I don't have a solution except to say this weekend has been on life support for years. Somebody should go into the hospital room and rip the plug out of the wall because this vegetable is already dead and gone. I'm Jim Rome.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like saddling up and chasing down.
Look at that sweet moolah!
That big old cash cow.
Look at all that money!
File with TaxSlayer Simply Free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. Simply Free is available to a limited number of taxpayers. See taxslayer.com for eligibility.
Have you downloaded the KTUS 1060 app yet? Download today and get all of your favorite local and national shows right on your phone.
Today, the first day that teams can start to place the franchise tag on players, making sure that they don't hit free agency. And there are two big names that we will be keeping an eye on over the next 2 weeks. That's how long the period is that these teams have to be able to apply the franchise tag. Open today, runs through the next 2 weeks up until 4 p.m. Eastern, so 2 p.m. 2 weeks from today. Don't ask me what date that is. I have no idea. I can't do that type of math. I'll consult the story that I have in front of me. 4 p.m. Eastern on March 4th. So 2 o'clock on March 4th. Everybody's got a franchise tag available to them. If they want, all 32 teams can tag one player that is supposed to hit free agency. That would guarantee that that player is with the team in 2025. Last year, 9 players got tagged. 2 ended up getting traded. Brian Burns was tagged by the Carolina Panthers and then was traded a week later to the New York Giants. And the Chiefs franchise tagged L'Jarius Sneed and then sent him to Tennessee later on in March. So the tag isn't always a guarantee that a player is going to stay with the team that they're on, but 7 of the 9 players that were tagged last year didn't move. 2 did get moved. And the 2 big ones, at least for me, that I'm keeping an eye on, what's going on in Cincinnati? Team missed the playoffs last year. Joe Burrow had a good season. Defense wasn't great. And you have a team that really supposed to be in the AFC mix every year, right? We're supposed to talk about the Bengals the way we do the Ravens, the way we do the Chiefs. The Bills, right? They're supposed to be that upper echelon team in the AFC. It's supposed to be Lamar versus Burrow versus Mahomes. That's how we're supposed to talk about the Bengals every single year. And it felt like we never really could do that last year. They lost to the Patriots in the first week of the season, and everybody kind of was like, that feels weird. Something feels broken there. Something's wrong. And they made a push late in the season, just ran out of time, right? Dug themselves too big of a hole. And so they're supposed to be in the mix every year, and they have a massive offseason coming their way. Because one of the areas they could use the franchise tag is on T. Higgins. And that is the question that surrounds them right now. Will they end up using the franchise tag on T. Higgins? There was a report that came out yesterday that the current plan is that they are going to put the non-exclusive franchise tag on him, which means he technically is free to talk to other teams, and other teams are technically free to offer him a contract. But if the Bengals choose to not match that deal, if the Bengals say, we're good, we'll let you go, not only does the team have to pay the money that they gave to T. Higgins in a contract, they also forfeit 2 first-round picks over to Cincinnati. Now, I love T. Higgins. Regular, everyday listeners of this program know we are on the T. Higgins bandwagon here. If he ends up hitting free agency, would be a coup for the Cardinals to end up with him. I'm not sure I like T. Higgins enough to forfeit 2 first-round picks and the money that it is going to cost him to bring him in the building. I like T. Higgins. I don't like T. Higgins that much. So that's name number 1 to keep an eye on. And name number 2 is what Minnesota is going to do with Sam Darnold. And this is both a great spot to be as an organization, but also a bad spot to be as an organization. You draft J.J. McCarthy. That's your future, right? You draft J.J. McCarthy. You sign Sam Darnold to, if I remember correctly, it was a 1-year, $10 million deal to be your backup, probably to serve your Andy Dalton role, your veteran quarterback that starts maybe the first handful of games in the season. And then If the season goes sideways, the record isn't great, the offense is underperforming, it's the perfect scapegoat to then put in your rookie quarterback, right? Carolina did this with Andy Dalton and Bryce Young. I'm pretty sure Andy Dalton was there in Chicago at one point for Justin Fields or Mitch Trubisky, one of the two, if not both. So it's a popular thing to do, and that's what Minnesota did. And then J.J. McCarthy, unfortunately, tore his ACL in the lead up to the season. So out for the entire year. Sam, this is your team now. And then Sam Darnold proceeded to have the best year of his career. Minnesota competing up until the last week in the NFC North. Then they got bounced out of the playoffs by the hands of the Los Angeles Rams. So now they're confronted with an issue. Do we re-sign Sam Darnold to a long-term deal because of how good he was with us, how good we were with him? He had a great year last year. Almost won the division. Had a chance. Sunday Night Football to end the season. Beat the Lions. We win the division. That's how close Sam Darnold was to avoiding the Rams altogether and the Vikings having home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Instead, they had to go on the road. They had to play here against the Rams. We had a fantastic year last year. There was part of the season where we were talking about Sam Darnold as an MVP candidate. That's how good he was. And now they have to decide, do we pivot a little bit? Do we stick with Sam and trade J.J. McCarthy? Do we let Sam walk in free agency and hand the team over to J.J. McCarthy, which was the plan in the first place? Or do we kind of sit on the fence a little bit? Do we tag Sam Darnold? It's a big number. I think it's north of $40 million for quarterbacks this year. Give J.J. McCarthy more of a runway to get healthy, to get right, to rehab, to get up to speed in the NFL. And in the meantime, we have Sam Darnold for another year. He gets a big-time raise from his $10 million salary last year, but we don't have the long-term commitment. We can get out at the end of the year. If things go south or we're impressed with the way J.J. McCarthy is progressing, we can make a change. And yeah, we have a very expensive backup, but we have a rookie quarterback under center, and we can get out from underneath Sam Darnold's money at the end of the year. It's a one-year commitment. There's no long-term dollars, so it's fine if we have a $40 million backup for half a season. So those are the conversations that are being had in Cincinnati and in Minnesota. And if I had to guess, Cincinnati feels like they are a lock to sign or to put the tag on T. Higgins. Minnesota, I'm not sure. I can't get a good gauge on this. I think of the three options that we've outlined, putting the tag on Darnold feels like the best of both worlds. It doesn't force you to put pressure on J.J. McCarthy. He doesn't have to immediately succeed. He doesn't have to immediately just come in and be awesome. You're coming off a year where you won, 13 games and almost won the division? That's a lot of pressure that J.J. will have to live up to. So maybe you it's an expensive bridge, but you have a bridge, right? I don't think a long-term extension is on the table. I don't think they want to do that. I think they want to give the reins over to JJ. But maybe there's a world where they long-term deal with Sam, and then that means JJ is available to be gotten via a trade, and you see who a bunch of teams need quarterbacks, right? We know the Raiders need a quarterback. We know the Jets, the Giants are looking around at quarterbacks. So if they sign Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy then becomes available via a trade, it's going to be some teams that line up for his services. So that's where things stand. Maybe a little bit later on in the program, we'll get into the Cardinals and what they might do with their franchise tag. Notably, probably not a whole lot. That's a good thing. We'll dive into that a little bit later on here in the program. The phone number, as always, 480-864-1060. If you want to hop into the show at any time, you'll also have the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel as another means to interact with the show. But coming up on the other side of the break, the Sun season will resume on Thursday. Means we've got 2 days to look big picture. So, who deserves the most blame for the Sun season so far? That's next. The lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
Your morning drive just got a little better. The Dan Patrick Show is live weekday morning starting at 6 exclusively on KDUS AM 1060.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, Peter Frampton. Let's Do It Again tour, June 25th, Arizona Financial Theater. Grammy winner, the one and only Peter Frampton. On sale now at livenation.com.
As a business owner, you wear a lot of hats. One minute you're ordering today's inventory, and the next you're planning tomorrow's expansion. It's complicated, but your business credit card should be simple. With the Signify Business Cash Card by Wells Fargo, you earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases for your business with no caps or categories to track. Signify Business Cash, the deliberately simple business credit card. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/signify. Terms apply.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win, breakaway, pick six, three-point shot, underdog win, buzzer beater, shootout, walk-off, and absolutely every play in between is amazing. From football to basketball and hockey to baseball, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Arizona.
Take advantage of thousands of dollars in SRP rebates and discounts on energy-efficient home upgrades like new air conditioning units, windows, ducts, and insulation. Save money on your energy bill while also making your home more comfortable. SRP's network of participating contractors can guide you from start to finish and maximize your savings by combining Inflation Reduction Act incentives with SRP rebates. Learn more at savewithsrp.com.
Real Stories with Hellsberg.
After we met and we started dating, Nancy and I lived 150 miles apart, and I would drive my old jalopy car, and it was roughly a 3-hour distance. It took 3 years I drove across that state back and forth dating her every weekend.
Persistence.
And I would have never stopped. I had a lot of energy back then, 36 years ago.
At Hellsberg, find the engagement ring worthy of your story. Designed with the love, care, and craft it deserves. Visit a Hellsberg store or hellsberg.com.
The spring sales event is going on now at Scottsdale Mitsubishi just off the 101 in Indian School. Right now, you can receive 0% APR for up to 60 months on the 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander.
That's right, 0% APR for 60 full months. Or you can receive up to $4,500 bonus cash. Come see us at the Scottsdale Auto Show and let us be your official inflation-fighting dealership.
The name to remember, Scottsdale Mitsubishi. Scottsdale Mitsubishi, another Mark Auto Group dealership.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m.
This is just something I like to call breakfast.
With big name guests, timely sports information, and more on KDUS AM 1060.
Who deserves the most blame for a 26-28 basketball team? That is what we are going to attempt to get to the bottom of here. Suns will get back into action on Thursday in San Antonio, and they will kick off their final 28 games of the season. And the more time we've had away from this basketball team, and the more time that on this show we've unpacked what their second half looks like, or their post-All-Star break schedule looks like, every single one of these games feels like it's turned up to a 12. And we will, on Thursday's show, break out the importance rating. And I'm starting to think that there won't be a game that has a low importance rating. Thursdays will be up there. We'll do that on Thursday's edition of the show. But we've got a 26-28 basketball team. Team that is 11th in the Western Conference. Not in the play-in tournament. Not having a good year. There's not a single great thing that has come out of this season for the Suns. Maybe you can get excited about Ryan Dunn for the future, and that's fair, but big three, new coach, brought in a point guard, added the depth. Idea was you were going to build off of
Remember when we thought it was a bad year when the team finished 6th in the West, won 49 games, and got swept out of the first round? Remember those times? Those times were fun. It was fun when that was a bad year for the Suns. It was fun when that was rock bottom, quote unquote. I'd go back to those times. We have a time machine. Can I hop in? Can we go back then? So who deserves the most blame for this team being where they are today? I think there are 4 slices of this blame pie. And I'm going to evaluate all 4 slices, and then we'll break it down. We'll do a little blame pie. Who's most to blame? So I have it as 4 different groups or individual people. I've got James Jones, Matt Ishbia, Mike Budenholzer, and the players. I have those 4 slices identified as the members of the blame pie. Okay? I think those are the big name slices. We could maybe slice out Bradley Beal or Devin Booker or Tyus Jones. We could do that and get really, really granular and just pound this conversation like sand. We'll go big picture. James Jones, Matt Ishbia, Mike Budenholzer, the players. So let's evaluate each of those 4 candidates individually. We'll start with James Jones. Your president of basketball operations, in theory, the guy that oversees the putting together of this roster, the guy that oversees talent acquisition, that oversees the roster building, that oversees identifying which players fit with what the team is trying to do, has probably a big hand in draft night decisions, has a big hand in trade deadline type moves, philosophy, what's available. He's the guy that's talking to other general managers, other president of basketball operations across the league. This roster has James Jones's fingerprints all over it. There's Matt Ishbia. You're always going to have the owner as part of any blame pie that you give out, right? He greenlights the big deals. He oversaw the Kevin Durant acquisition. He oversaw trading for Bradley Beal. Oversees a lot, probably has a hand in a lot. Everything rolls through him as an owner, but I am very confident in saying that the Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal stuff goes above James Jones and it goes to Matt Ishbia's desk. That he's the one with his fingerprints on those 2 deals in particular. And there's Mike Budenholzer, the coach, the day-to-day general of the Phoenix Suns, the guy who has to take the roster that was put together by James Jones and Matt Ishbia and deploy it in the best possible way 82 times to try to win enough games to make it into the playoffs, make those adjustments in the middle of the season, find the right roles, find the right rotations for these guys, take the talent that he has and deploy it correctly. And then there are the players. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Tyus Jones, Yusuf Nurkic before he was traded. Everybody who has played and stepped foot on the floor for the Phoenix Suns this year, there is blame to share amongst the players. You can trade for whoever you want. You can acquire whoever you want in free agency. You can practice and come up with rotations and have all of the perfectly designed roles, right? The players have to go out there and they have to show an effort. They have to show a willingness to adapt, a willingness to buy in to what the coach, the GM, the owner is saying. Mike Budenholzer, James Jones, Matt Ishbia, they can't go out there and play for the players. The players have to play for themselves. They have to play for each other. They have to play for the city of Phoenix. So those are your 4 candidates. James Jones, Matt Ishbia, Mike Budenholzer, the players. So if we were putting together this blame pie and we were giving everybody a share, how much of the blame goes to each of these candidates? I think we'll do this in reverse order. I'll go with who has the lowest share of the blame pie, and that's Coach Bud. I give 5% of the blame to Coach Bud. Has coached 54 games as Suns coach. And while I have my fair share of issues with some of the rotational decisions that he's made, and while I've spent the last week or so calling for a major change at point guard that I am not expecting to see when they get back in action on Thursday, I can't put this all on him because he just got here. He's only had 54 games to try to implement the system, to try to implement rotations. He's had to deal with injuries. He's had to deal with guys coming and going. Now, he also didn't talk to Yusuf Nurkic for 2 months. He also is a championship-level coach that should be able to find a way to put the right 5 guys out on the floor. So he does get some of the blame. He gets 5% of the blame for the way he handled the Yusuf Nurkic situation and for the way that it feels like right now he hasn't done everything in his power to change these rotations up, to change his deployment of these players. That falls on the coach. So 5% to Mike Budenholzer. 15% I'll attribute to James Jones. He goes out there and gets the players. He goes out there and identifies the role players that we have seen over the last couple of years that are surrounding Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. You don't want to give him the blame for the Kevin Durant deal or the Bradley Beal deal. You want to attribute that to Matt Ishbia. I certainly did in putting this blame pie together. James Jones still puts together the rest of the roster. He's not just a figurehead. He actually has a say in this process. He identifies talent. And so far, over the last 2 years, the talent that they've identified as their role players, as their depth pieces, have not panned out the way they have wanted them to. So James Jones, 15%. Producer Corey, if you don't mind to keep my math in check here, that's 5 for Coach Bud, 15 for James Jones. That's 20%. Let's make sure when I put this together this morning that my math adds up to 100, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you. Because that would be very funny if I did all of this and it ended up at like 110%. So we've got 5 for Coach Bud, 15 for James Jones, and now 25% for Matt Ishbia. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The decision to trade for Kevin Durant, that falls on an owner. I think that is a high-level, ownership-level decision. I think trading for a player of Kevin Durant's magnitude, and let's look how it happened, right? It's the thing that he did his first day on the job. The ink barely drying on the paperwork that made him the owner of the Phoenix Suns, and the deal's done. So I don't know how much I want to attribute that to James Jones when it's the first order of business the moment Matt Ishbia takes over the team. So I'm going to attribute that to Matt Ishbia. And that is kind of a large reason why we're in this mess. You traded for Kevin Durant, you traded for Bradley Beal, and it hasn't worked. Those 3 guys together haven't worked out the way you want it to. So 15 and 5 for James Jones and Mike Budenholzer, that's 20. Plus Matt Ishbia's 25 is 45. That means I have 55 left over. I'm giving all 55% to the players. This is a players problem. At some point, players have to play the game. At some point, players have to play the sport. At some point, the players have to go out there and win basketball games and just play. There's only so many moves you can make. There's only so many coaching adjustments. There's only so many big-time roster decisions that you can make. You can't have a big 5, right? You have a big 3. You can have a dynamic duo. You can't have 5 all-stars. So you have the owner that went out and got the big stars. You have the front office exec that handles the rest of the roster being put together. You have the coach who's in his first year trying to deploy that. At some point, the reason why this team is 26 and 28 is because of the players. it falls on them the most. They have to get it done. You've had 3 coaches in 3 years. You're telling me that Monty Williams, Frank Vogel, and Mike Budenholzer are all just bad coaches that couldn't get the most out of this group? In fact, that's the thing that I point to put it on the players. You've had 3 different coaches in 3 years. You're telling me all 3 of those guys couldn't get through to you? Monty, very well-respected coach. Back-to-back NBA championship winning coaches. And you still can't get it done? No, I'm not putting blame on the coaches. I'm putting blame on the players. So 55% for the players, 25% for the owner, Matt Ishbia, 15% for James Jones, and only 5% for Coach Bud. He's been here for 5 seconds. This is not his fault. This doesn't all fall on him. Hasn't done the greatest job. But he's deferred this thing from the problem here. So there you have it, the blame pie, as we start the post-All-Star break for the Phoenix Suns. 480-864-1060, the phone number for you to hop in at any time. Do you agree, disagree with the blame pie? Somebody I missed, somebody you want to add? Your thoughts always welcome. 480-864-1060. You can also join us on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream as well. Coming up, we'll wrap up hour number 1 on the other side of the break. It's another day and another story making a connection between the Cardinals and a Super Bowl champion. That's next on the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
It gets a little crazy in the sports zoo sometimes. Listen weekdays from 5 to 6 p.m. with the Rooster right here on KDUS AM 1060.
Pierce the veil. I Can't Hear You World Tour 2025. Pierce the Veil, live in concert in Phoenix. With Sleeping with Sirens and Beach Weather. Live at Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater, June 15th. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Part of the America First Credit Union Concert Series.
Looking to sell your home? Hi, I'm Andrew the Home Buyer, and I love making it easy to sell your house. I'll personally come and give you a cash offer the same day we meet, and I'll beat any other offer. It really is that easy to sell your home, and no need to clean or fix anything. I'll buy it in as-is condition. Call me, Andrew the Homebuyer, today to get your same-day cash offer. Visit andrewthehomebuyer.com.
Stars are shining down on Goldberg and Osborne. The Eagle has more than 2,200 5-star Google reviews from across Arizona. Like these.
They go that extra mile to let you know they care. A wonderful experience.
They treat their clients like family, and their professionalism is the best in the business.
They made sure I got a great offer. Like a bulldog, they fought for me.
Well said, everyone. After any accident, remember, deferred is a word. Visit Goldberg and Osborne at 1-800-THEEAGLE.com.
Every day, reliable, comfortable, connected. Every day you rely on power. At APS, we work around the clock to deliver some of the most reliable power in the country. But with Arizona's extreme weather, outages can happen. Stay safe and informed with alerts by keeping your contact information up to date. And visit our outage center for updates online or on the APS app. For more ways to stay safe and informed, visit aps.com/brighter.
Every Monday night, check out Ray Adams as he hosts the Monday Night Golf and Lifestyle Show from 6 to 7 p.m. here on KDUS AM 1060.
Welcome back in, wrapping up hour number 1 of the program. We appreciate you joining us here on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Everybody's trying to figure out what the offseason might look like for the Arizona Cardinals, trying to see all the names that are out there and see how the Cardinals can upgrade their roster, make the necessary improvements on both sides of the ball, address their offensive line holes, get that pass rusher, maybe add a wide receiver, get a backup quarterback. All the things that we keep talking about here on the show every single day that we're waiting to see what the Cardinals will do. Well, ESPN released their top 50 free agent list this week. And they also, along with naming those top 50 free agents, also added the ideal fits for those 50 free agents. And of the 50 names that they listed, 2 landed with the Arizona Cardinals. And those 2, one will not shock you in the slightest. One, we briefly mentioned yesterday on the program. And the first is a Super Bowl champion. The first is a member of the Philadelphia Eagles, where the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals previously was employed. The first name is Josh Sweat. So here we go again. This link will not go away. Now, what's interesting about this link is it's not like you're hearing it from a reporter. It's not like you're hearing it from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or a Jeremy Fowler. You're not hearing it from somebody who's linking the Cardinals to pursuing Josh Sweat. You're just seeing all of these big picture free agency preview stories make the connection. And the connection's pretty easy to make, right? Josh Sweat plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jonathan Gannon was a coach over there in Philadelphia, coached the defense. There's the natural connection there. It's a scheme fit. They need a pass rusher. Josh Sweat, pass rusher. Young enough, still in his prime, that fits the vision for the Cardinals. At a position that doesn't have a lot of big names, he might be the biggest. We know the Cardinals probably want to take a big swing this offseason at that position. It's pretty easy to make that connection. And I don't think this link between these two sides will go away until Sweat is signing someplace else. Because every single time I see a story previewing free agency, it has these two teams kind of doing this song and dance. And I'm on board with it. Out of all the options available in free agency, Sweat is by and far the top name. By and far and away, the option that I would want the Cardinals to pursue in free agency if they were going to go down that path. We know that trading is a scenario. Myles Garrett, maybe Max Crosby, Micah Parsons, all of the names that you know that just won't go away on the trade market. But if those options for a bunch of reasons are just off to the side, not available, I think all roads lead back to Josh Sweat ending up in Arizona, in Glendale, playing for the Cardinals. So this is a link that will not go away, I think, until Sweat either signs with the Cardinals or signs someplace else. Because it's every story that I read that links these two teams, or this player with this team. The other name, which I think is way more interesting for this conversation, because we've had the Josh Sweat conversation. Now we just got to see if the Cardinals have an appetite to pay Sweat what the market is going to command. Coming off of that Super Bowl, coming off of a big year last year, a younger pass rusher. We're not talking about Khalil Mack here, who's trying to just extend his career on a 1, maybe 2-year deal. This is a guy that's going to cash in. Sweat's getting a 4 or 5 year deal. This is a big-time commitment, both in years in terms of dollars. So if Monty and company are going to decide on Sweat being the guy they bring in, then they've got to be completely sold that this is the guy we want to give the commitment to. This is the guy we want to give the dollars to. This is, in our minds, the missing piece. That's the question that I don't know the answer to right now. I don't know if the Cardinals view Sweat as their missing ingredient, the missing piece, because it's going to be a contract that would, in a lot of ways, say that Sweat's going to be the missing piece. It would put that type of pressure on Sweat to be the missing piece. I haven't looked recently at what he might get in free agency, so producer Corey, I'm going to do your favorite thing that you love that I do here on the show. I'm going to look up something and try to filibuster. I know that's your favorite. You love when I do that, because now the show could go completely off the rails. But I'll see what Spotrac has as the going market value. Now, this isn't a be-all, end-all, but what they have the market value for Sweat entering this offseason. And you tell me, if when I tell you this market value, if that is of a player that's going to have high expectations, the missing piece. So according to Spotrac, the calculated market value is a 3-year, $56.4 million deal, so $18.8 million a year. The contracts that they used as a comparison point, Jonathan Grenard, Brian Burns, Bryce Huff, Harold Landry. Josh Sweat, 27 years old, will turn 28 late in March. You're going to pay somebody nearly $19 million that would make him top 10 paid at the outside linebacker, edge, pass rush position. You're going to pay somebody top 10 money. You're expecting top 10 production. That's a difference maker. We've had this long-standing conversation about the Cardinals finding a difference maker in free agency. I don't know if I think Josh Sweat can be a difference maker. I'll tell you one thing, though. They give him that type of contract, 3, maybe 4 years. You're paying him to be a difference maker. You're paying him to put up that kind of production. You're expecting him to be one of the top-end pass rushers in the NFL. So I don't know if the Cardinals feel like he can be that player because they won't be the only suitor. Philly will probably like to bring him back. You know, the Commanders will be looking for pass rush help. You know, the Lions will be looking for pass rush help. The Packers, the Bears, a lot of teams will be in the mix. So what is the Cardinals' appetite? How do they feel about Josh Sweat? Do they think he is that difference maker? Do they think he is worth the big swing that it looks like it might require via free agency? But there was another name on that list, and that other name was a wide receiver. It would be a running mate for Marvin Harrison Jr. And that name was Amari Cooper, who spent last year with both the Browns and the Bills and had, no disrespect, I'm just looking at the stats the way that they're presented to me, one of the worst years of Amari Cooper's career. He played 6 games with Cleveland last year, 24 catches, 250 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Was then traded to Buffalo, played 8 games with them in the regular season, 20 catches, 297 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I'll pull up his box score from the postseason. But against Baltimore, had 1 target, didn't have a catch. And then in the loss to Kansas City, had 4 catches, 33 yards, no touchdowns. That was it for him in the postseason. So overall, across the 2 teams in the regular season, 547 yards on 44 catches and 85 targets, and 4 total touchdowns as a 30-year-old. The year before, 2023, he was a Pro Bowler with Cleveland, played in 15 games. These were his numbers just a year ago. 1,250 yards on 72 catches, 128 targets, 5 touchdowns, was a Pro Bowler. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in Cleveland after getting traded from Detroit. Amari Cooper, one of the, in my opinion, most underrated receivers in today's NFL game. So ask yourself, was last year's numbers the product of starting 6 games in Cleveland and having that quarterback mess throwing him the ball, and then in the middle of the season changing gears? Now, he had Josh Allen throwing him the ball, but it's a new offense, it's a new system, takes a little bit to get up to speed. Or was last year the sign of a decline? Depending on how you feel about that question tells you how you feel about Amari Cooper walking through that door and being a nice secondary option to Marvin Harrison Jr., a nice running mate. They need a running mate. I don't know if Amari Cooper would be near the top of my list. Last year concerned me. Those numbers concerned me last year. Hour number 1 of the program in the books. Time flies when you're having fun. Hour number 2 on the other side of the break. We'll start with this. It was Geraldo Perdomo. Could anybody be next? That's next. The lunch break. KDUS, AM 1060.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
Do you know when you realize you made a horrible mistake and got stuck with the wrong injury lawyer? When it's too late. Hi, I'm Mark Breyer.
And I'm Alexis Breyer. We're the husband and wife law team. You can protect your rights by asking the right questions. When was the last time the leaders of the firm went to trial? And why does their fee go up if they have to file suit after an unfair offer?
That's right, Alexis. But we know those firms don't want you asking those questions, and they're not going to answer them. They're going to dance around it. Do your research after a serious injury. Call the husband and wife law team first.
Healthy hearts love longer. They let you be there for all of life's most precious moments, big and small. That's why the expert cardiologists at Dignity Health never miss a beat. They work alongside a cardiology care team to guide you through whatever comes your way. It's our job to keep your heart in tip-top shape so you can be there for whatever greatness comes next. Find your doctor today at dignityhealth.org/azheart. Dignity Health. Hello, human kindness.
The Renaissance Festival is back, weekends now through March 30th. Be ready to have a great time. Amazing adventure awaits the entire family. New shows, shopping, jousting nights, non-stop feasting. Leave your cares behind. Happiness reigns at the Renaissance Festival. It's fun and affordable. You'll love the Renaissance. Visit now through March 30th. Discount tickets available at Bashers' and Food City or online at arizona.renfestinfo.com. Presented by Delta Airlines, Bashers', Food City, Pepsi, Budweiser, and Guinness. Huzzah!
Connect directly, bid confidently. At Purple Wave Auction, transparency is key. With no reserves and no hidden surprises, you're connected directly to sellers so you can inspect and bid on quality equipment with confidence. Whether you're looking for ag, construction, or fleet equipment, we're here to ensure a clear, hassle-free experience. Register today at purplewave.com and start bidding with peace of mind. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
9 Inch Nails. Live at Footprint Center, September 16th. Get tickets now at NIN.com. 9 Inch Nails, live in Phoenix. Peel It Back World Tour 2025.
A family called us recently after being told they had no case.
But we found evidence many others had missed and helped them win the largest car crash verdict in Arizona that year. Hiring the wrong lawyer can cost you everything.
Call the husband and wife law team first.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
Welcome back into the lunch break, hour number 2 here on this Tuesday edition of the show. Chris Schubert with you for one more hour before we hand things off to the Jim Rome show at 1 o'clock. It was the Arizona Diamondbacks making news last night, inking Geraldo Perdomo to a 4-year, $45 million contract extension. And one of the natural follow-up conversations that I had in my head last night, which means I get to now talk out loud to all of you about, is anybody going to be next? Are the Diamondbacks working on anything else, perhaps? Could somebody else land an extension? And there's different buckets that this could fall into, right? Perdomo, a very unique case. What do I mean by that? Well, wasn't set to hit free agency at the end of the year. The Diamondbacks still had team control for the next 2 seasons beyond this one before he was going to hit free agency. So they weren't in a rush to get this deal done. They could have waited. They could have seen what another full year. Perdomo played 98 games last year for the Diamondbacks. So they didn't need to rush to get this deal done. They could have seen how this year plays out for Perdomo, but they wasted a little time. They identified a player that they wanted to build this team around moving forward. Wasted no time, extension, cost controlled. We have salary certainty on our books. We don't have to worry about arbitration and projecting those numbers out. We know for certain what these numbers are going to look like for each of the next 4 years. And that's what good organizations do. They set themselves up so that they know what's possible for them next offseason. So Mike Hazen and company using this time to get these deals done. So could anybody be next? Well, there's different buckets, right? There are the guys that are going to hit free agency at the end of the year, and that's Jordan Montgomery. That's Eugenio Suarez. That's Merrill Kelly. That's Zach Gallen. That's Josh Naylor. Those 5 guys will hit free agency at the end of the year. And I don't think we're going to do this for every single player that I want to talk about because it's a lengthy list, but I'll just talk about each of these guys individually because urgency would be the factor here, right? Urgency to get a deal done before the year started to avoid free agency altogether. Jordan Montgomery, anybody interested in a Jordan Montgomery extension right about now? Anybody? Bueller? Nobody? We're going to pass on that? Okay, so Jordan Montgomery, no rush there. Uninterested. Eugenio Suarez. Anybody excited about the prospects of signing who's going to be a 34-year-old third baseman by the time next year rolls around to a long-term deal? I don't think so. We told you in hour number 1 of the program, there's a world where Perdomo slides over to third. Lawler is the long-term shortstop. Lawler plays third. Perdomo's at short. They want to keep that roster spot open. So I don't think there's a rush to sign Eugenio Suarez to a deal. Merrill Kelly, getting paid $7 million this year, one of the best bargains in all of baseball. Merrill Kelly, taking the ball every 5th day for this team, $7 million. What a great signing that was a couple of years ago, 3 years, $24 million by the Diamondbacks. Just a fantastic deal that they put together there. But 36, going to be 37 next year. Is there an appetite to sign a 37-year-old starting pitcher to a multi-year contract? At most, you may want a 1 or 2 year deal, but he's 37. You're going to free up a rotation spot with Jordan Montgomery going. You're going to free up another spot for Merrill Kelly, and Brendan Pfaadt's not going anywhere. Ryan Nelson's not going anywhere. So those options, you want to keep those options open. So I don't think there's an appetite there. Then you have Zach Gallen and Josh Naylor. These are guys that very much fit into a bucket of you'd like to see an extension. I think everybody here in town would like to see Zach Gallen be inked long terms. Only 29 and a half as we sit here today. A 4-year, 5-year deal that would take him to age 34, age 35. I think everybody would be on board with that. He's only making $13.5 million this year. But you know who his agent is. And very rarely do Boris clients don't hit free agency. Very rarely do Boris clients sign extensions and not even get to free agency. See what that looks like. Even Pete Alonso ended up back on the New York Mets this offseason. He went through the whole process. So while I have an appetite for it, while I would be intrigued for a Zach Gallen contract extension, I just don't know if Gallen wants to see that through right now. Josh Naylor, younger than all these guys, the youngest of any of the guys we're talking about here, 27 right now. Making $10.9 million this year. But the question there is, do you give a guy an extension without having seen him take one single AB for you in the regular season? You clearly liked him enough to trade for him. You clearly liked him enough to be your Christian Walker replacement. Does that also mean a contract extension, or do you maybe see how the season plays out a little bit and evaluate it as the year goes on? There's nothing stopping you, if the parties want to talk about it in season, doing something in the middle of the year. So those are the guys that have the biggest sense of urgency. Those 5 guys: Montgomery, Suarez, Kelly, Gallen, Josh Naylor. Gallen and Naylor, I'm interested in. Don't know if Gallen would do that right now. Naylor, what is the appetite on the Diamondback side to do that when he just got to the team, hasn't even taken an official AB yet for the D-backs in 2025? So now you have the group of players that are in the similar mold to Perdomo. What do I mean by that? They have 2 more years of control beyond this year before they hit free agency. So a deal with them would buy up those arbitration years and then a little bit of their free agency years. So you've got Ryan Thompson, you've got AJ Puck, you've got Kevin Ginkel, you've got Joe Mantiply. Now, those guys have 1 more year of team control beyond this year. So you're paying them in 2025. They're arbitration eligible in 2026. They'll be a free agent in 2027. Remember, Perdomo, there were 2 more years beyond this one that he was under team control for. So those names again: Thompson, Puck, Ginkel, Mantiply. All bullpen, all relievers. Is there a huge, massive appetite for that? I don't know. Again, Perdomo getting paid his arbitration salary this year in 2025. The deal will eat up his 2nd and 3rd arbitration years in 26 and 27, and then 2 of his free agency years in 28 and 29. So following that same mold of 2 years, you're looking at Pavin Smith and Kyle Nelson. Those guys, you would buy up their 2 arbitration years in 26 and 27, and then you would occupy some free agency years. Any of those guys that I just mentioned jump off the page at you. Most of those guys over the age of 30. AJ Puck and Pavin Smith under the age of 30, both 29, although AJ Puck will turn 30 in the middle of the year. Kyle Nelson is 28. That's it. That's that group. And then there's the guys that, as of this moment we sit here today, haven't even become eligible for arbitration. And this is where you're going to want all of these guys to be signed to long-term extensions. Alec Thomas, Jake McCarthy, Gabby Moreno, Brendan Pfaadt, Justin Martinez. All of those guys you would want. 23-year-old Justin Martinez, yeah, my closer of the future. Let me buy up all of those years. Brendan Pfaadt, potentially one of the future members of my rotation. Yeah, I would love to do that. Gabby Moreno, my 25-year-old catcher. Let me lock up behind the plate for the next 5 years. But that's too much team control to buy up. That's 3 years of arbitration that you would have to pay for, meaning you're going to have to pay a little bit more than you normally would on the front end. And then you'll save some money on the back end. But most of the time, when you're talking about players that have this much team control, you can't do what the Diamondbacks did with Perdomo and sign him to a 4-year deal like that. They bought 2 arbitration years, 2 free agency years. So if you wanted to keep it balanced in a similar vein to the Perdomo deal, we use Gabby Moreno as an example. I think he's probably the most likely of these guys. He's got 3 arbitration years. So you would sign him to an extension starting in 2026 for the 3 arbitration years, and then you would want 29, 30, and 31. It would be a 6-year extension. Are we fully comfortable with a 6-year contract extension for Gabby Moreno at the number that might have to look like? I don't know. And so everybody, when they see deals like this, they get excited of, what else could the Diamondbacks do? And this is what good organizations do. They are always looking for these types of opportunities. Do these opportunities exist this offseason, or maybe are we better suited for next offseason? And I think next offseason is when you can have the Gabby Moreno conversation, when you could maybe start to have a Brendan Pfaadt conversation. And with pitchers, I think I'm much more inclined to try to get them signed early, at least for me. I know there's more risk associated with that, but if pitchers hit free agency, we've seen what those dollar amounts look like. I might be willing to pay up a little bit now to have some more cost controlled moving forward and have Brandon Pfaadt through his 2032 season when he's 26 years old, another 6 years down the road till he's 32. I might be willing to do that to have the cost control in 2030 and 2031. But it's the game of chess that Mike Hazen is going to play. So I look at this and I see a couple of candidates, but maybe not right now. Gabby Moreno would be next up. Brandon Pfaadt would be next up. Justin Martinez, if he has another good year, would be on the list. But I don't think there's a rush. None of those guys have hit arbitration yet. Gabby Moreno won't hit arbitration until next year. Still under cost control. Brandon Pfaadt, he's got 4 years of team control. He's not a free agent until 2030. There's no rush. The timeline of the Perdomo deal doesn't line up with where Brandon Pfaadt, Gabby Moreno, Justin Martinez currently sit. But that's your next group That's where the next extension is going to come from. It's going to come from those guys, Thomas, McCarthy, Moreno, Brennan Fott, Justin Martinez. That's where you're going to see the next extension come for the Diamondbacks. I just don't think there's a rush to do it right now because I think you're giving up those years of control that are cost controlled, and you're going to have to pay up now. You're going to have to buy up too many of those years. It's not going to be advantageous for the team. The Perdomo deal is a win-win for both sides. You pay a little bit now, but you save some money on the back end more than likely. I don't think that deal exists for the guys that we're talking about. Coming up on the other side of the break, will the Cardinals this offseason spend heavy resources on offense? Talk about it next. The lunch break, KDUS, AM 1060.
The Varsity Sports Show dives into Arizona high school sports, JUCO, NAIA, and NCAA sports. Catch it Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. on KDUS, AM 1060.
I'm Dawn. This is my husband, Steve, and we're the Jacksons.
We've had 4 Fulton homes over a course of 20 years. During the building process is what always impresses me is the fact that the communication lines stay very open.
And everything was well organized. We had checklists. This is going to happen at this time. Expect this at this time. And it all worked exactly as they told us to anticipate.
The walkthroughs were almost kind of anticlimactic because the construction supervisors were so much in touch with me that we'd already discussed everything.
One of the things we really like about the Fulton Homes communities is they strive to make them a community, not just a place that you live. You become friends with people in your neighborhood. When we walk in a Fulton home model, it always feels like home.
Fulton Homes. You're proud to own, we're proud to build.
Experience the beauty and excitement of the Scottsdale Arabian Horse Show and enjoy free admission with your dairy purchase. Simply buy $20 worth of milk, cheese, or yogurt at your local grocery store. Bring your receipt to the admissions booth and receive 1 free ticket. Don't miss this world-class event at Westworld, February 13th through 23rd. Real dairy fuels real adventures. Show your dairy receipt and rein in big savings. Brought to you by your Arizona milk producers.
Hi, Luis Gonzalez here. Want to bet? Feel the thrill of Casino Arizona with 1,400 of the hottest slots and nonstop table game action. We make winners, no experience necessary. Join us for the best bingo in the valley with daily sessions. Indulge in all-you-can-eat Eagles Buffet or enjoy fine dining experience at the award-winning Choyo Steakhouse. Enjoy top-notch local entertainment, tribute bands, and viewing parties at CAZ Sports Bar, just off the 101 in McKellips. Casino Arizona, uniquely Arizona.
And this is Above the Noise. The Lakers made their move. A seismic trade sending Anthony Davis to Dallas in exchange for Luka Doncic. Star-powered gamble. But in solving one problem, the Lakers created another. Already struggling defensively, they parted ways with a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate. So they're really thin in the paint. The front office tried to counter. A deal for Hornets big man Mark Williams was meant to stabilize the interior, a desperate attempt to plug the gaping hole left by Davis's absence. But when complications arose with Williams' physical, the trade fell apart. And just like that, with the deadline passed, the Lakers find themselves staring at a harsh reality. No big man, no rim protector, no easy answers. Doncic and LeBron will make for an offensive spectacle, but without a defensive anchor, the championship aspirations are on shaky ground. The Lakers went all in. They'll have to live with the consequences. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. A great lawn is like a great sports team. It takes expertise and a little extra care to stand out, and that's where True Green comes in. Here's the best part. It's more affordable than you think. They'll even match any competitor's price. Plus, True Green backs it all up with a satisfaction guarantee. Not happy? They will come back between visits to make it right. So don't wait. Head to truegreen.com today and let the pros do the work while you sit back and enjoy the results. Exclusions apply. See truegreen.com for details.
Hey, are you a whiskey lover? If so, you have to try the new Keeper's Heart whiskey. Keeper's Heart is one of the first to blend Irish and American whiskey, and it's really good. So good, in fact, Keeper's Heart has been recognized as one of the world's best whiskeys for the way it brings together the boldness of American whiskey with the smoothness of Irish whiskey. It's the perfect matchup. Keeper's Heart is a legend in the making. Trust us, you gotta try it. Drink responsibly.
Check out KDUS AM 1060 on 100.7 KSLX HD2. That's right, HD radio on 100.7 channel number 2.
When the Cardinals can start to spend money this offseason, what might it look like? And will they spend a lot of their resources on the offensive side of the ball? Well, one story took me by surprise earlier this week. It was a story on SI.com by Richie Bradshaw discussing what the perfect offseason looks like for the Cardinals offense. And I will tell you that there's a lot of stuff in this story that I like. There's a lot of the moves that make some sense. There's just a lot here. And I just don't know how much of it is possible considering the other stuff. There's another side of the ball that needs to be worked on. And I read the whole story. I read the story again to make sure I didn't miss something. But at no point does the story talk about how, hey, we understand that there's needs on the defense. We're just looking at the offense, and this is just a dream scenario. We know this isn't how it's going to work in practice. I never really got that. I just got hey, this is what I'd like to see the team do on offense. So we'll go through it. I'll tell you it all, and then we can discuss how I just don't think this is the path the team's going to take. But we'll start. They had 2 quarterback additions, Marcus Mariota as a free agent, and then Jackson Dart in the draft. Now, I guess we'll take these point by point as we go through here, right? I think the Cardinals would be well served to upgrade their backup quarterback spot. I think they need somebody that can apply a little bit of pressure onto Kyler Murray, that he has to be worried about being replaced by that person. I don't know if it's Marcus Mariota. I don't know if it's Daniel Jones. Both of those guys, backups with starting experience in the NFL, former top draft picks, respectfully, in Marcus Mariota and Daniel Jones. Better than Clayton Tune, that's an upgrade. I think they need to make an upgrade in that regard. I don't see a world where they're going to sign a guy in free agency and also take a swing in the draft, though. And Jackson Dart, good luck figuring out where he's going to end up in the draft right now. I've got some people saying that won't get out of the top 15, top 20, and then there are others that say he's a day 2 pick. Who knows at this point? At wide receiver, 2 drafted wide receivers in Isaiah Bond and Ricky White III, and then a trade for Christian Kirk. Now, again, there's the bones here of this story I like. We've mentioned needing a backup quarterback. I like the idea of getting Marcus Mariota. I like the idea of upgrading there. Christian Kirk feels like he would be somebody that would classify as a running mate for Marvin Harrison Jr., right? He would fit the mold of what we've talked about. But if you're trading for him, you're giving something up. And you've got 5 draft picks this year, 5, and you've just spent 3 of them on a third-string quarterback in Jackson Dart and 2 wide receivers. So I've got 5 picks in total. I spent 3 of them on 2 wide receivers and a quarterback, and I've just traded for Christian Kirk. That's probably costing me something too, if I'm trading for him. If he's a cut candidate and I just sign him in free agency, that's different. And then offensive line, 2 free agent acquisitions in Trey Smith and Morgan Moses, drafting a left guard, and then drafting a center. So 5 draft picks. Remember, I just traded for Christian Kirk. So that's where this story kind of fell flat for me, is I like all of these moves. I like adding a backup quarterback. I like identifying Christian Kirk as a potential running mate to Marvin Harrison Jr. I like spending free agent dollars on some offensive linemen. I like using draft capital for that. But all of the draft capital for the Arizona Cardinals is not going to go into the offensive side of the ball. All of the free agency dollars for the Arizona Cardinals are not going into the offensive side of the ball. There's going to be a balance. I think this draft skews more towards the defensive side than it does the offensive side. The thing I like about this story is it points out all of the flaws on offense that we have championed here on this show. Backup quarterback, running mate for Marvin Harrison Jr., and you have some holes on the offensive line. You've got your center. You've got your left tackle. You've got Paris Johnson Jr. You've got Yoda Froholt. You've got two mainstays. You have some guys leaving in free agency that you're going to have to replace. You're going to have to figure out what your right guard situation is going to be. You have to decide what you're doing with your left guard because Evan Brown is gone. Will Hernandez is a free agent. Tristan Colon is a free agent. Kelvin Beachum was your swing tackle, played a lot of right tackle when Jonah Williams got hurt. He's out the door. The only three names that I can really count on this team are Paris Johnson, Yoda Froholt, and Jonah Williams. That's it. Your two guard spots are up in the air. You need another wide receiver. I think you need a backup quarterback that's an upgrade from Clayton Tune. Defensively, you're about to see Kaiser White and Baron Browning hit free agency. Dennis Gardeck's going to hit free agency. You can't focus all of your draft picks and all of your resources onto the offensive side of the ball. You have too many holes on defense. Your secondary is pretty solid. The secondary is one of the areas where the Cardinals don't have a lot of turnover. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Max Melton, Garrett Williams, your three corners, your safeties, Jalen Thompson, Budda Baker. You have contracts with those guys. They're not going anywhere. Some young players, some draft picks from the last couple of years. So you're good in the secondary, but you can't focus, like this story suggests, a lot of your resources on the offensive side of the ball. In fact, I think you're going to have to err on the cheaper side on offense because Josh Sweat might cost $20 million. If you sign a Khalil Mack or trade for a Myles Garrett, that's going to cost you a pretty penny. A very delicate dance that Monty Ossenfort is going to have to undergo this offseason. It would be easy if you just had one side of the ball that was perfect. Had the quarterback, had the running back, had the offensive line, had the wide receiver. You felt good. You knew what you had in that regard. And you needed to just work on your defense. Or your defense was really good. You needed to focus on, I just need a wide receiver, right? I just need a number one target for my team. Cardinals have some really important spots to fill on both sides of the ball. Is anybody going to tell me that it's not important to get a running mate for Marvin Harrison Jr.? Is anybody going to say that it's not important to figure out who's playing left guard and right guard? I know the team apparently likes Isaiah Adams, a third-round pick from last year, but is that really what you want to be your right guard solution for this year? All while you have to get a pass rush and fix the interior of your defensive line? There's just a lot of work to do. That's the point that I'm trying to make here, is this team can't afford to focus all of their resources, all of their assets into one side of the ball. There's a lot to accomplish this offseason. And maybe because of that, the backup quarterback thing falls to the back of the line and they're comfortable with Kyler and Clayton Tune because they have those guys under contract. There's nothing to worry about. I can at least understand that, right? Okay, there are some sacrifices that need to be made. You have two quarterbacks already on the roster. I understand making that sacrifice. But I can't understand doing what this article suggests and leaving the entire defense unchanged. And maybe that's not what the intent of the story was. Maybe this was just, hey, all bets are off, free reign. They could do whatever they want. This is what it would look like. But they only have 5 draft picks, and all of them were used on offense. So I would not describe that as a perfect offseason. To me, that would be a lackluster offseason. That would be missing the mark. This team has to get to training camp with a running mate for Marvin Harrison Jr., their offensive line situation squared away, I don't want to say difference maker at pass rusher because we've had that debate and I don't know how possible that is, but they need to have a better group than the group that they had last year. And they need to dip their hands in all the different buckets in order to do that. Draft, free agency, maybe multiple free agent acquisitions. That's what this needs to look like when we get to training camp. It's a lot of work to be done. Good thing for them, they have a lot of cap space in order to do it. The bad thing, they have limited draft capital to do it. So they're going to have to spend a lot of that money in free agency to insulate themselves from the draft board maybe not panning out the way that they want it to. They pick 16th. 15 teams in front of them that can mess it up. that could screw it up, that could take their guy. Make sure that they don't fill that need. You can't get to draft night hoping that the pass rusher falls to you and you've let the entire free agency process go by. Would be a colossal failure. So they are not going to spend, in my opinion, heavy resources on the offensive side of the ball. Those resources are going to be very dedicated to the defensive side of things. James Jones, Mike Budenholzer, Devin Booker, or maybe it's somebody else. Who's under the most pressure when the season resumes on Thursday? That's next on the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
HD Radio is here for KDUS AM 1060. Check out your favorite shows and games on 100.7 KSLX HD2.
Ghost World Tour 2025. Ghost Theatrical Heavy Metal Arena Rock. August 11th, Footprint Center. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Ghost.
Are you tired of seeing rust stains in your sinks? Call Culligan or scrubbing hard water scale buildup from your fixtures. Call Culligan. We can customize whole home solutions to address common water worries found in Phoenix. And now, for a limited time, you can get better water at every tap in your home for $0 down, no payments, and no interest for 6 months. Problem water is no problem for Culligan. Contact your local water expert today. Contaminants may not be in your water. Dealer participation may vary. See dealer for details.
Breakfast! Mom, my jersey.
In the dryer.
Mom, have you seen my science project?
Front closet.
Hey, I'll run out and pick up your mom's.
Already got it.
Oh, nice.
All right, out the door in 3, 2, 1.
At Banner Health, we're here to help you feel 100% so you can give 110. Because we know your health is what enables you to get where you need to go and bring everyone along with you. Banner Health. Exhale.
Hey basketball fans, Tom Chambers here reminding you that just like in a game, you need a solid defense for your home. And that starts with a reliable roof from Right Way Roofing. Hey Lori, as owner of Right Way Roofing, what sets you apart from the competition?
Our team tackles any roofing challenge from shingles to tile to foam roofing. We'll make sure your roof wins against the toughest opponents, rain, wind, and even those scorching summer days.
Make Right Way Roofing your MVP.
We're Right Way Roofing and we do it right. We'll always keep you watertight.
Picture this. A family trusts a lawyer after their father has been seriously injured. And then they're told there's no way to win his case and they'll have to take care of him with no support.
And that would have been the end of the story because they hired the wrong lawyer. Fortunately, they called us to the husband-wife law team. We were able to use our years of expertise to uncover evidence previously missed and guarantee they could change their father's life forever.
Do your research after a serious injury. Call the husband and wife law team first.
Traffic? Get your sip on. Detour to McDonald's for deliciously bold premium roast coffee. Or maybe it's time to sweeten up that mid-afternoon slump with an icy cold sweet tea. Sip up. Or get your favorite soft drink to perk up after a long day at work. Sip yourself to happiness. Right now, get any size premium roast coffee, sweet tea, or soft drink for only $1.29. When you sip a good drink from McDonald's, it's all good. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Prices and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Need social information about KDUS AM 1060? Try KDUS1060.com, at KDUS AM 1060 on Twitter, and Facebook.com/KDUS AM 1060.
Folks, if you'll allow me just a quick aside before we get into who's under the most pressure when the season resumes for the Phoenix Suns. Producer Corey, I have a question for you. Is the production studio that you are in minus 12 degrees?
Actually, the temperature is never that bad. It's cold everywhere else pretty much.
It is freezing.
Yeah, I don't feel that where I'm at.
In this studio today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it could be in part because normally I have a hoodie on. I normally just wear a sweatshirt to the office most days because this building is notoriously cold.
Yes, it is.
Like the whole building is like an icebox. Now, I'm not allowed to touch the thermostat.
No one is.
I'm under direct, like there are directives, so I'm not allowed to touch that.
There have been emails in the past, very bold letter
Oh
filled.
yeah, they are. Stuff is capitalized, it's underlined, it's italicized. Do not touch the controls. Now, the thermostat in here, because I can see it from where I'm sitting, says it's only 72 degrees in here.
Yes.
I don't believe it.
No?
I do. It is frigid in here. Frigid.
That's how they trick you. They keep it nice and cold, but tell you 72, so you don't realize how cold it actually is.
So not cold for you.
Well, where I'm at currently, this room, yes, after a while.
You're the main production studio that
Totally
you work,
fine. No complaints.
That's nice room temp. You're comfortable. Now my office, great.
Really?
Oh, my office is
I thought that was one of the colder rooms.
Oh, comfortable. Very comfortable in there.
Wow.
I keep the lights off. It's very nice in there. There is just, I don't know. I don't hear the vent on in here. It sounds like the vent's on though.
Probably.
Just, I don't know. Today, for whatever reason,
Just billowing.
It feels colder in this room today than it normally does.
There have been other rooms I've been in this building that have been just blowing AC.
There are times where I have meetings with people in their office, and I'm like, can we move this someplace else? I can't do this meeting in here because it's frigid.
Oh,
and I don't have a hoodie. Good thing I do have a jacket in my office. I may go grab it during the. I mean, I've only got 2 more segments left in the show, but perhaps
Make the last 2 comfortable.
Yeah, right. Might want to be comfortable for the last 2 segments of the show. You know who's not comfortable? The Phoenix Suns. They're under a lot of pressure here with 28 games to go in their regular season, and I picked 3 names in the tease of who's under the most pressure when the season resumes. Is it James Jones? Is it Mike Budenholzer? Is it Devin Booker? Is there anybody else that we want to nominate for that spot? I picked those 3 guys out there because I think those 3 people's futures somewhat hang in the balance. If this team doesn't make the play-in tournament, if they miss the playoffs altogether, they don't even get to play in the reindeer game that is the NBA play-in tournament, which is you're a playoff team, but you're not really a playoff team. If they can't even make that, how is James Jones's job not under a microscope? How are we not having a conversation about a reset at the president of basketball operations level? He's the guy that oversaw this roster being put together. He's the guy that has overseen multiple iterations of this roster be put together. And what do they have to show for it? They got swept out of the playoffs last year. The year before won 1 playoff series. This year would have not made the playoffs. That's not a resume of somebody that should get to see the next iteration of this team through. So there's pressure on James Jones. Problem is, what can he do? Trade deadline has come and gone. He didn't make the trade for Jimmy Butler. He didn't utilize all of the picks that they got back from Utah, utilized the ability that trade opened up to move 1 pick to get Yusuf Nurkic out of town, to free up that money, to free up that roster spot. But there's nothing he can do. Maybe he can attack the buyout market. I think it was this morning, it might have been late in the day yesterday, the odds to land Patrick Beverley and the Suns were listed as the favorite, according to the sports books, to land Pat Bev. All right, maybe there's pathways to get players on this roster, but the hay's in the barn for James Jones. This roster, when the trade deadline came and went, is settled. That is the roster. That is what this team is. So is there pressure on him? Sort of, yes. There's nothing he can do about it, though. If he feels the pressure, there's nothing that he can do about it. His time to do something about it has come and gone. Mike Budenholzer, I do think there's pressure on him. I've outlined my position on this. If this season ends the way it's trending towards ending, I don't know how there isn't major overhaul at all 3 levels of this organization. Players, coaches, front office. I don't know how we avoid conversations about Durant and company leaving, Budenholzer and company leaving, and Jones and company leaving. I don't know how we avoid those conversations. I don't know how we avoid that reality. And I don't know how the Suns would look at their season and want to keep the status quo and keep those guys around. I just don't see why that would be a reality that Matt Ishbia would choose. So there is pressure on Mike Budenholzer because while I do think there would try to be some avoidance of 4 coaches in 4 years, is Mike Budenholzer the coach that you want to see oversee a retool, a rebuild, a 2 or 3 year gap between trying to be playoff relevant. You didn't bring him in here for that. Now you sign him to a 5-year contract, so there's probably going to be an appetite to keep him around. But if things go completely south, and I mean they're not even close to a playoff spot, they're 5-6 games short of a play-in tournament spot, I don't know how you're going to avoid it. I don't know how you avoid making a change at the coaching spot. And then there's Devin Booker. And while I think of the 3 guys that we're talking about, James Jones, Coach Bud, and now Devin Booker, the least amount of pressure is on Book. Because I think there is a strong want in that front office of having Devin Booker for the next iteration of this Suns basketball team. There is a desire to give Devin Booker another core of players to try to win with. I don't think there's a willingness or an appetite to trade Devin Booker the way there is seemingly going to be a willingness or appetite to trade Kevin Durant when we get to the summer. I think they would want to avoid at all costs trading Devin Booker, and they would try to see this through without that reality. Whereas I think there would be more willingness to move on from James Jones, more of a willingness to move on from Mike Budenholzer. I don't think there's that same willingness to move on from Devin Booker. Is there anybody else we want to add to this mix? Is there pressure on Kevin Durant? The reason why I didn't have Kevin Durant listed here is he's going to play someplace else next year, almost assuredly. Unless this team goes on a miracle run through the final 28 games, wins the play-in tournament, wins a first-round series, is competitive in the second round. That's the only way where there might be a consideration to run it back. And so Kevin Durant is gone. There's not a whole lot he himself can do, just like with Devin Booker. There's not a whole lot that these guys have to do to solidify their future. I think their futures are already solidified. Kevin Durant's future, I think, is solidified. And that future is someplace else next season. Devin Booker's future, I think, is mostly solidified. He's going to be a member of the Phoenix Suns next year. Coach Bud, James Jones, I don't think there is solidified. Bradley Beal, he has a no-trade clause. His future is solidified. There's no pressure. There's pride. He wants to play better. He wants to be a better teammate. He wants to turn things around. He doesn't want the constant noise and negativity surrounding this team. I mean, I certainly would like to avoid the negativity. I certainly would like to have a more positive, upbeat attitude when we talk about the Phoenix Suns here on the program. It'd be nice. They're not giving me a ton of reason to do so, which is why when we have these conversations, it ends up going down that negative path. It's maybe why I tried to spend the first couple of minutes of this segment talking about the air conditioning in this building rather than talk about the Phoenix Suns, because it does feel like same old, same old. It does feel like we are talking about things that are just unavoidable. But is there anybody else that you want to throw in here? Grayson Allen? Again, big picture. James Jones, Mike Budenholzer, Devin Booker. Those are the 3 people who I think have the most pressure on them. And if you're asking me where I think the most pressure relies, it's on James Jones. There's nothing he can do about it, but if this doesn't work, I think he's the most likely. Of these 3 candidates, Jones, Budenholzer, Booker, which is most likely to not be a part of the Suns next season? Wouldn't you say it's James Jones? Wouldn't you say that there's an appetite to keep Devin Booker? There's a contract that is only 1 year old with Coach Bud, where Jones has overseen multiple versions of this. It might be time to get fresh eyes looking at this problem, fresh eyes looking at this roster, looking at this organization, overseeing the basketball ops sides of things. Bud and Booker, I think there's an appetite for those guys to stick around. And for Coach Bud, it's not because of his coaching chops. It's because, do I want to fire another coach? Do I want to pay another coach? I'm already paying Frank Vogel because I fired him after 1 year. Do I want to fire Bud and pay him the rest of that deal when he could sit at home and collect the final 4 years of that contract? of those three, the most pressure is on James Jones, and he also has the least amount of say in his future at this point. He relies on those other two guys to potentially keep his future here. Coming up on the other side of the break, I'm going to go get my jacket, potentially fiddle with the thermostat in here, push some buttons, see if I get in trouble. And when we come back, it is going to be the leftovers. That's next, the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
With the Dan Patrick Show brightens your mood to work. The DP Show airs live weekdays from 7 to 10 right here on KDUS AM 1060, 100.7 HD2, and KDUS1060.com.
Springtime savings are going on now at Mark Mazda in Scottsdale. Right now, receive 2.9% APR for 72 months on the 2025 Mazda CX-70 and CX-90.
The name to remember, Mark Mazda. Mark Mazda on approved credit plus $998 doc fee.
Wish your school better fit your needs? Switching to Primavera Online mid-year is easy. Enjoy a flexible online education from the comfort and safety of home, plus exclusive benefits like free private tutoring and merit awards for college and more. Enroll at chooseprimavera.com.
Only 50% of Arizonans believe their health insurance will cover them in a major medical emergency, like a car accident or an unexpected life-changing diagnosis. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona aims to change that perception. AZ Blue often takes care of more than 99% of hospital charges in major emergencies, protecting you and your family from devastating financial consequences. To learn more about how AZ Blue protects its members, head to azblue.com/true story.
Deftones. North American Tour 2025. Live in Phoenix. Footprint Center, March 9th. With special guests, the Mars Volta and Fleshwater. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Presented by the Big Red Radio.
I'm John Morgan. When people stop me to ask, what's my case worth? Here's what I tell them. All law firms are not the same at all. You see, the most important part of anyone's injury case is the firm you hire. The insurance company knows exactly which firms fight for full value and which firms will settle your case for pennies on the dollar. Our firm has recovered billions and billions and billions. $3 billion last year alone. There's only one Morgan & Morgan. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Your caddy, Ray Adams, takes you beyond the 18th hole on Saturday mornings with Great American Golf from 6 to 7 a.m. on KDUS AM 1060.
It's much better.
You got it.
Much better. I had to run into my office, get my jacket. I feel much, much better. It's now it's comfortable in here. Now,
did you touch the AC?
No.
Oh.
I was not going to try to get the strongly worded email about because in fairness, I think we're. You know what? If I get in trouble for it, I'll get in trouble for it. That's fine. I'll get called into the boss's office. I'm not afraid. We haven't gotten in trouble for anything in the building.
No,
as
not
a whole
yet.
Recently. No. I just mean everybody.
Oh, okay.
Normally, since I've been here, I started last August. There have been a couple of times where you get the bulletin to everybody. And you know it's bad when you see the subject to the email and it says to all staff.
Yeah, a reminder.
Right. That's when you know somebody did something and now everybody needs to be reminded to not do it. We had this happen earlier in the week. Did you see the email yesterday?
I'm trying to remember which one was that in particular.
So there was an email yesterday about, hey, President's Day, not
that was awesome.
Not a holiday.
If you took the day off, please record as a vacation.
Yeah, right, it's a vacation day.
That's
it's not
so funny. I forgot that one.
Which means somebody thought yesterday they could have the day off.
Oh, boy.
So we hadn't had one of those in a while. It had been relatively quiet around here. We hadn't had that email where somebody did something they weren't supposed to, and now we were all reminded. We'd been on a good streak.
Yeah.
Yesterday, we had to reset the counter to 0.
That's fine. They come in threes, right? So let's.
So you think there's 2 more emails coming this week?
I don't know. We'll see.
I think it's going to be a quiet week in here.
I think if you touch the AC, that's
No. I did not. I did not touch the
Okay.
AC. If anybody that is in the higher ups here in the building, I did not touch the AC. There's video proof of it. Just go to the KDUSA 1060 YouTube channel. You can see I at no point stopped, and it still says 72. I'm looking at it right now. I'm not touching it. I am not having that email get sent out. Not me.
Much like a Suns championship, you're nowhere near touching it.
That's right. That's right. Just like the Suns in their pursuit of a championship this year, me and the AC, not even close. Not happening. I'm not trying to get in trouble. Because if you're the subject of that email, you feel bad, even though it's not calling you out.
Yeah,
you know that you're the purpose for the email.
And half the audience assumes it's you anyway.
Right. Like if somebody touched a thermostat in the building, I'm the new guy. Like I'm the newest guy that's an on-air talent, so people are going to think it was me.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be like, Chris, what did you do? Sorry, I was a little chilly on Tuesday and I touched the thermostat. So no. I am not causing another email. Not happening. We've already got one this week. The leftovers. We touched on this a little bit to start the show in the context of the Geraldo Perdomo contract extension that the team and Perdomo signed last night, 4 years, $45 million. But Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Toronto Blue Jays were unable to get a deal done. There was let's face it was a self-imposed deadline. There's nothing that's stopping these two sides from continuing to talk, but he set a Monday deadline for the two sides to come to a deal. He said that the deadline was 9 p.m. on Monday. There was apparently a last-minute call from the Blue Jays at 10:30, and he was asked today if the team was close to giving him what he wanted. Vlad said no. So that means the 25-year-old will hit free agency next November. And so while not Ohtani, while not Juan Soto, while not Aaron Judge, Vlad Guerrero Jr., a very big name, and he's 25 years old. We just saw how it went for the last 25, 26-year-old free agent that hit the offseason at the perfect time, hit free agency at the perfect time. So Vlad Guerrero Jr., there's the big fish. There is the big target that everybody is going to be circling for their plans and trying to free up the money. Now, we don't know what the Blue Jays offered him. The general manager, Ross Atkins of the Blue Jays, said that their offers were, quote, very, very aggressive. So you'd have to think that those are good. Atkins said they would have been record-setting, one of the highest-paid players in the game. So what did he mean by that? Let's try to break this down. Let's look. Record-setting. Well, to me, I think record-setting, he's not getting more than Juan Soto. He is not Juan Soto. He's not getting more than Shohei Ohtani. He is not Shohei Ohtani. So what does market setting mean, right? What does record setting, one of the highest paid players in the game? Well, to me, that means when I look at first baseman, it would have reset the market. Bryce Harper signed a 13-year, $330 million deal in 2019 with the Phillies with an AAV of $25 million. Vlad is getting paid $28.5 million. When it comes to long-term deals, Freddie Freeman, his 6-year, $162 million deal that he signed with the Dodgers in 2022 pays him $27 million. So if we look at that as a guide, he would have probably broken the $30 million mark for first baseman. So he would have gotten probably at least a 10-year deal. So 10 years, $300 million is at least what he would have gotten. At least. And he probably would have beaten Harper. And if we look at all positions, one of the highest, he would have gotten more than Mike Trout's 12,426, in my opinion. Mookie Betts' 12,365, probably would have beaten that. Mookie signed that at 28 years old. Mike Trout signed his contract when he was 27 years old. Vlad is 25. That's an extra 2 years. He would have eclipsed the $500 million mark. It would have probably been the third highest contract in all of baseball. That's probably what they offered him, and he might want more. That's the only way to interpret would have been record-setting and would have made him one of the highest-paid players in the game. That's the only way to look at it. He would have been a top 5 player. He would have gotten more than Judge, more than Betts, and he might have turned that down. So what's he looking for? 600, 700 million? I don't know if he's going to see it. I really don't. But he is now the big fish. He has cut off talks. He's going to play out the rest of the season, but he did say that he was not going to close the door on the Blue Jays coming back and giving him the offer that he wants. Quote, listen, I want to be here. I want to be a Blue Jay for the rest of my career, but it's free agency. It's business. So I'm going to have to listen to 29 more teams, and they're going to have to compete for that, end quote. So the Blue Jays, who missed on Ohtani, missed on Soto, now might lose their own guy in Vlad Guerrero Jr. The Bengals apparently have the plan this offseason to sign all their guys. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson. According to ESPN, the team is apparently going to attempt to get all three of those guys brand new deals. So it is their current plan to sign Chase, Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson to long-term deals. We mentioned earlier in the program, there's some reporting out there that Cincinnati is going to place the non-exclusive tag on T. Higgins, so he's coming back next year. Higgins played on the franchise tag last year, $21.8 million. The tag this year, the second time that it would have been placed on him, will be $26.17 million. And you have Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson also looking for new deals. So a very expensive offseason coming for the Bengals if they want to pull this off. Will they pull it off? Hendrickson requested a trade, if I remember correctly, last offseason. 17.5 sacks over the last 2 years, led the league in 2024. Probably wants to be one of the higher paid pass rushers in the game. I don't know how they're going to do it. I haven't done a full deep dive on the Cincinnati Bengals cap situation and what they can do with some contracts, if they can restructure some deals and free up some space. But just looking at it on paper, saying that you're going to try to sign Chase, Higgins, and Hendrickson all in the same offseason, long-term deals with all those guys, that does feel like an uphill battle. That does feel like a challenge. Everybody wants to get in on fixing the All-Star game. Everybody. Everybody thinks that they have the be-all, end-all, and they have the fix. And I'll tell a quick story. This morning, producer Corey walked into my office and he said, hey, do we have any sound for today's program? And I said, nope, I don't have any sound for you. The reason why, because one of the pieces of sound that I wanted to play would have required some cleaning up of some stuff.
Oh.
So I'm just going to read the quotes so that I can avoid any potential issues with some colorful language that was used by Bill Simmons, because he tried to fix the All-Star game. He came up with his version of a fix, and I heard it on Twitter last night, and I didn't know if it was going to be a big topic this morning when I woke up, but it was. So his suggestion was to make home court advantage in the NBA Finals the prize. So go back to the East and West. He wants to go to a 40-minute game, which is the FIBA international rules, which is what Adam Silver has suggested moving the whole sport to. And he wants 8-man teams from the East and the West. And so that there's going to be 24 All-Stars that get picked, and only 16 of them play in the big game on Sunday. And here's his little wrinkle. Quote, here's the catch. Only players from top 5 seeds can be in the All-Star game. So everyone who is in the Sunday game is actually going to care about home court advantage. I have 7 on each side, plus an 8th person who is a commissioner pick, end quote. And then he adds to it, those other 8 All-Stars that aren't a part of the 16 that are going to play for home court advantage on Sunday, those 8 are going to play the 8 like rising stars or future guys, and they play on Saturday. And he wants there to be a $2 million prize, $250K per person, 8 versus 8, 40-minute games, the same thing. Now, I appreciate the effort here. I appreciate the boldness of this. I actually kind of like it. Yeah. Like if the NBA announced this today, I'd be like, this is cool. Mm-hmm. Here's my problem.
Yeah.
Think of how much effort it took to come up with this. There's a lot to this. There's a lot. We're trying to fix an all-star game, and we had to do a college dissertation to try to come up with a solution.
Yes.
It's an all-star game. It is what it is.
And they still don't want to get hurt, probably.
Right. I don't know if trust me, I think the big pushback is going to be the idea of home court advantage being on the line, because you worry about, are the players going to care? That's why Bill came up with the, top 5 seeds players being the only players that can be involved in the Sunday.
Yeah.
It's just way too much. It's an all-star game. Okay.
We got to save it.
No, it's not savable. You can't fix it. Okay. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the boldness. Let's take some of these boldness ideas and try to apply it to the regular season, not try to fix one weekend that truthfully doesn't matter. That's going to do it for today's edition of The Lunch Break. Jim Rome is next. Producer Corey, thank you for all that you do. Everybody, make it a great rest of your Tuesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.